Some crazy stuff with the pentatonics, and all you need is a guitar, and we'll be able to have some fun. Now, I typically love to play my standard kind of bluesy licks within the context of a pretty heavy, distorted sound, because I think that really gives you a good mix of two worlds there. You can go aggressive, think shred, rock solo, Zakk Wylde, and you can kind of reuse all your blues licks if you're like a blues guy like me. I started out with metal, and then I went into the blues, and then started shredding, and you know, just a healthy mix of everything. So join me, we'll have a lot of fun. So typically, just to make things a little bit easier to show you guys, I'm in the scale or key of E minor pentatonic here. So that means you can kind of use your trusty box here on the 12th fret. Works really well. And like I said, I love using my, traditional kind of bluesy, Jimi Hendrix meets SRV, that kind of, or just maybe like that works really nice, that kind of SRV. So if you've never done this, check it out. It's just a 3-note lick, but it's extremely effective. So we're going to be bending here on the 15th fret B string. And then we're going to be flattening our index finger here on the 12th fret. So we're doing, and then, so 15, 12, 12. That's a really cool way of creating, licks that easily can stand out in a jam or something like that. And the trick to throwing in some variations here is to basically alternate that first note, and sometimes play it on the B string and sometimes on the high E string. So so 15 bend, 12 12, 15 and then 12 12. So of course, if you can combine that with maybe some kind of build-up, or you have to make those faces. Otherwise, it's not a rock and roll. So whenever you see me do one of those crazy faces, it's usually because I'm doing this 1-finger double stop bend. Now, if you've been around on the channel and you've seen recent content I've posted, then I've explained this concept. Basically, what you do is you bend any note, and then once you started bending, you're gonna realize that your finger sort of covers another string. So try to grab that string like this. So you get that noise and that really cool sound when you're playing both strings at the same time. So obviously you can't do that from scratch because you're just starting out playing one string, right? We're bending the 15th fret high E string. But as we move up, we're getting closer and closer to that B string. And that's when we can catch both strings and really produce some cool noise. So I just gotta make sure I'm seeing live chat there. So can you guys see and hear me properly? Just give me a shout so I can see that the chat is working. I haven't done these streams here on YouTube for quite a while. So let's try to combine that first lick I showed you with that kind of double stop heavy bending. So So that's to my ears, that's getting into heavy pentatonics land. Maybe we add some those licks in a context. I mean, they work really well in you know, the heavy rock kind of thing. But when you're on your own, playing on your own, it can be a little bit hard to visualize how the end product is gonna sound. So that's why I like to just throw in some riff or a little bit of rhythm guitar there. You can just do some palm muting. You know, play a riff, play your favorite riff. And then you throw in those. And you get that sweet contrast. Now it struck me that I totally forgot to notify people on the GMC site that we went live, because I was a little bit nervous about doing a session here on YouTube. I haven't done it for quite a while, but now we're obviously rolling, and I should really notify people that we're live. So here we go. Now, notification done. Okay, cool. So just to recap, we started off by just doing this kind of SRV lick, but on steroids, because we have more distortion than he would typically have. And then we added those really cool double stop bend. You can rewind the tape if you missed the explanation for those. Oh, I need to fix my shirt. There we go. And then finally I said, well, give it some context. Play a little bit of rhythm guitar, maybe some, you know. One thing we haven't spoken about is vibrato. Now, for this kind of style where you go all in, you know, heavy pentatonic, Zakk Wylde style, you really need, I think, a wide vibrato, kind of slow and wide, or at least wide. You don't really want to go for this, that kind of vibrato. And, you know, that can work in a bluesy context, but for distortion and metal, typically benefit from that wide vibrato. Now, how do you get that vibrato? Well, I like to explain it a little bit as, you know, bending versus vibrato. I think a lot of students, they see big difference between bending, right? You either bend, and that's, you know, slow, or you do vibrato, which is like super fast. But I like to think of vibrato as bending. That's a way to kind of slow down your vibrato and give it like a smoother touch. So to me, that's just bending, right? If I'm thinking super fast, it becomes this kind of, which again works sometimes, but most of the time I don't like that kind of vibrato. So you're gonna find that if you use the following recipe, you know, you use a blues lick, but with high gain, and then end it with this wide vibrato, I mean, that's pretty much all you need to do in order to transition from blues to a more of a, like a, you know, heavy rock approach, Zakk Wylde style. You don't need that. Although Zakk likes to do that stuff, I would say it's not a necessity for the style, even though it belongs to that style. You can get away with just the heavy vibrato and maybe some blues like that. But definitely add that double stop bending. It's such a cool trick. Now, something I like to do whenever I'm, you know, trying to include like a new tool or a new phrase, a new pattern into my style and into my improvisation is to use either backing track or just a metronome. Now, here's a classic old style, old school metronome. These were very common when I was starting out. Not sure you can find them anymore, although I'm sure Korg still produces metronomes. Maybe it's not this basic. Still works, so I don't want to throw it away. So let's practice a little bit with this. I wouldn't, you know, really resort to an exercise here, you know. I still like to keep it somewhat improvised, but the metronome is helpful for like connecting different phrases and different patterns in a smooth way, and just so, you know, there's a good saying that is in order to break the rules, you gotta know them, right? So this is sort of to play according to the rules, where everything fits into the grid of the rhythm. And when I practice that, then I like to try to stray from that. But I want to start out by trying to fit the grid of the music. That kind of thing, that's a good example of how all of a sudden my bending became more rhythmic there, or even more melodic as I tried to fit it into this metronome click. So I did this as opposed to just doing whatever. It's like da-da-da-da. So it's part of that's the melodic bending, where the bending becomes a part of the melody you're playing. Let's speed it up a little bit and see if we can, you know, make some slightly faster phrases. I wish I could turn up the volume a little bit, but that's not possible. That's a nice one. So this slightly speeded up tempo helped me kind of make use of some of those more aggressive picking runs. This is also something I showed recently on the channel via one of the reels. So if you don't know what I'm talking about here, go to the GMC lessons page on YouTube and find the reels, because I've explained this concept. Basically, where I'm speed picking power chords. So instead of using a more tricky fingering, which is kind of hard to learn because it requires hand sync and stuff like that, then I'm just playing a power chord. So I'm moving around a power chord and kind of speed picking that. So it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So got a drink. This is heavy stuff. Just water though, of course. In case I need to clarify, I'm not that rock and roll. I don't have my vodka or whiskey standing right beside me. Okay, so some more of that. Again, I'm relying on all the concepts, or many of the concepts I just explained, where I do these double stop bends. I'm using these blues licks, and I'm trying to sort of spice them up with some aggressive vibrato and just this high gain tone. So there I was using a variation of the this power chord pattern I showed you, where I'm basically using power chords for alternate picking. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that kind of thing. But I did it, so I just did like opposite or symmetrical or inverse fingering. So instead of that, I did. Cool, BRS, awesome, man. Awesome to see you again. It's been a while, and yes, it's been way too long, but I have actually gently gotten started with everything, and I actually started with Instagram and Facebook, but my plan is to become more regular here as well, and you might have seen me update new content in form of shorts, YouTube shorts, the last weeks. So it's coming, and I'm coming as well. That sounded a little bit gross, but hopefully you got the point. So, are you still practicing your guitar? And have you survived all the crazy times we're going through? You can throw in some tapping as well, but then we're starting to stray a little bit from that heavy pentatonics. Although I think it works really well, but it's not quite as aggressive in terms of attack, right? Can't really compare it with that kind of, you know, classic Zakk Wylde. I don't know. Different things. By the way, there's another pattern I should probably show you, which is definitely in the same line of thinking, you know, where we reuse our blues stuff and make it heavier. Now this is a lick you're going to see everybody from Jimi Hendrix to Kirk Hammett / you know, this kind of thing. You know, it's fairly basic, but it can sound really fancy and difficult. So we're going to be starting off on the 12th fret B string here. And then we're hammering on the 15th fret. And we're pulling off. So 12, 15, 12, and then one note here on the G string. So let's start with the 14th fret. So. And then what we can do to create some variation there is to either play the 14th fret or the 15th fret. So we get this. Now when we speed that up, it really kind of tricks the ear there. There we go. So this is a lot of fun. I don't know. There's something about the combination, you know, where you do these pentatonics on the Les Paul, high gain. It's just, there's a lot of power to it. I think I'm getting a bit closer to understanding all these classic combos. I always thought, well, I can do that on my, you know, this headless guitar. It doesn't really matter. Well, I guess it does matter. There are, you know, each guitar obviously has its sound. But it really works for some kind of styles better than others. Another thing I've started doing is play just my Telecaster with, well, everyone's been doing that for ages, but I've just discovered twang. I really plug it into like a Voxy sounding rig and just listen to that, you know, twangy bridge pickup of the Telecaster. Really cool stuff. But this is equally cool. Go, heavy vibrato makes things a lot more fun. By the way, if you guys have any questions, just stop me. I might not stop immediately if I'm into a really cool riff, but I will stop very soon. And maybe you got some issues you're struggling with, may it be guitar related or life in general. I'm happy to discuss it if you think I can help. So I just gotta see that this actually shows up as intended on the GNC side. Yeah, there we go. As intended on the GNC side. Awesome. We like it. So, and you don't have to get fancy, you know, I spoke about laying the foundation and maybe playing a riff or something before you get into these licks. But let's pretend you're a 100% blues guy. But you still, you know, you got that gain knob dialed up and you got more distortion than you typically would have. So what you can do is just hit that, you know, power chord. Maybe add some pop muting. That's a great foundation. And then play your blues lick up here. To me, that's already far beyond blues and way into heavy metal. That's something you can do as well when you're looking to spice things up. I typically try to start, you know, within the kind of expected frameworks of playing pentatonics or playing some standard riffing. But then after a while, either I or maybe I sense that the listener gets bored of that. And that's when I like to start throwing in some chromatics, and that works extremely well, I think, in the pentatonic scale. So basically you can think of it as, you know, any scale or any note that is not contained within the pentatonic scale can be added as a color. You just have to do it somewhat carefully. Now, one way to do that carefully is to kind of play fast and kind of blaze by them. I realize that's not for everybody, but that's one method. So that's what I did here. I mean, these are really outside notes. If I play that slowly, you know, it would sound incredible. You know, it doesn't sound that interesting, but when I do it fast, it sounds okay, provided that I actually land on a strong sounding note. So I've got to make sure the ending is good. The ending should sound melodic and not be like a tension note. Then I can get away with just playing random chromatics in the pentatonic context, which I think is pretty cool. I think it opens up a lot of doors. Sometimes there's a belief that you gotta be, you know, totally aware of what you're doing. You have to know your outside scales. But I don't think really that's the case, especially not if it's like rock and roll and you're not trying to stick to some jazz standard or whatever, because then you can really go wild with some outside notes and then get back into the pentatonic, and it's gonna sound awesome. Too many notes, way too many notes. So I'm just jamming away here, but if you feel like I should stop and like, explain that thing, then just give me a shout. Sometimes you gotta mess up as well. Sometimes you gotta play the bad notes in order to know which ones are the good notes. can't help but making those faces. I get some I get some upset comments about me doing that. It's just hard when you're producing those kind of. You just have to make those faces. That's also one of the reasons why I love this type of Les Paul style guitar. The bends just, they come to life. Well, first of all, it's a great thing to have a fixed bridge, I think, for bending. I don't think I'm saying anything unexpected there. But then also just the sustain you get in combination with that just gives you a couple of extra seconds where you can come up with fun stuff before the note starts to fade, starts to die. And that's when you can come up with those. I think I'm into Metallica now. Randy here. You have made it at the right time. Glad to see you live, bro. How are you doing, man? Have you survived these crazy times? And are you still rocking your axe? I remember you used to be into really heavy stuff. Is that still where you're at? Just while you're answering that. I think that's early Metallica. That's like the Phantom Lord or something like that. That's just too many notes right there. Oh, cool. Third album for your band. And you're waiting for your vocalist to finish lyrics. So I've slowed down practicing. Okay, so you're waiting for the final touch there with lyrics, and then you're gonna have your third album ready. That's awesome, man. So when I used to do these streams a lot, did you have your own albums at that time? I can't remember you spoke about it. Okay, cool. So this one has been quite some time in the work then. How do you say that? In the works, in progress. I'm just forgetting I don't have the tremolo here. Okay, so you got the lyrics. Okay, so he's gonna write or she's gonna write lyrics, and then you write the music. That's pretty cool. And then you return the music to your vocalist, and you get the melody and all that stuff. Oh, nice. Okay, 4 out of 11 songs done. Cool, cool. That's very exciting. Looking forward to hearing the end results. So is it fair to say that most of your focus now is on rhythm guitar and stuff like that? Or by the way, what's your band's name? Cacotopia, cool. That sounds like cacophony. I was sitting for dystopia, cool. So I have to check them out. So I don't think you can share links here, but it would be cool to know the link. Megadeth. I don't know how I got into that. There's another thing I'm working on. Just basically hitting... oh yeah, cacophony is awesome. So just going more smoothly from rhythm to lead without doing this big jump. That's a big challenge, but it's also a lot of fun. So, I mean, the easy way is just to do this, right? But that's, you know, this long slide, and yeah, there's a bit of an interruption there. So I try to kind of work my way from down here, which can be a challenge to do musically, you know? You can, of course, just learn a pattern and repeat that, but I try to do it while improvising. So let me see if I can do that. And there I messed up the rhythm. But you can see the point. I really like practicing this way because I think it's really a musical way of just, you know, kind of riffing away and involving some lead work and kind of erasing that big gap between rhythm and lead, which I think is so common. And I've definitely suffered from that on my own, you know. I either think in terms of lead or I think in terms of writing songs in rhythm, and there's no in between. But that's a shame because a lot of stuff, times, the coolest stuff is going to come from that borderline between kind of rhythm and lead. So that's why I like to kind of work on that, trying to find that gray zone in between where a lot of the good stuff lies. mean, now I found a cool riff in there just because I tried to play lead. Well, I don't know if it's cool, but it's aggressive. Of course, the standard way works as well. You know, that sounds kind of cool to once in a while just throw in that classic kind of position shift. You hear that whoop, and it's not a smooth transition, but it's still kind of awesome. That's nice. A bit too much bending there, or I missed the pitch. So basically playing like 3 or groups of 6 and then position shift, doing a position shift in between them each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, E minor pentatonic. And then same thing from the A string, next position, E minor pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then same thing from the D string and yet the next position. And then from there I do. Oh, I messed up one more time. I messed up again. I don't know, something like that. Cool, so I've always been a lot about lead guitar over the years, which was obsessive. But I want to get back to more to rhythm guitar and then lead. Cool, so maybe you're in the same boat as me then, trying to, thinking rhythm lead, and maybe you can benefit as well from kind of mixing those two. Well, the hard thing with this lick, for me at least, was finding my way out of it, I was kind of able to play it, but then from there I need something that sticks to the rhythm, but obviously I won't be playing the same pattern because I've run out of positions, right? I'm at the top, so I need to I'm doing that flat 5th thing, and then bending from the minor 7 to the root up there. So that worked. Aha! So here's another example of that, I think, where I tried to go from rhythm to lead, but then I again kind of stumbled upon something that became like a part of the riff more than like a lead. So let me see, I'll play a little bit more and see if we can extract something cool out of it. And I messed up. I messed up again. There you have it. So that works. So just like doing this gallow thing. then you get like a melodic feel. You build up. I'm just playing like E minor pentatonic all the time, which is the topic of the stream, by the way. And then I get that I get a build up. So we get that. The good thing there is I can quite easily from there come up with variations, because I have that kind of melodic note hanging, and all I need to do is change that, and then I'm gonna get sort of a movement there in the melody. One more time. Glad you like it, by the way, Randy. So there you have it. There's a melodic movement on top there. And that kind of inspires me. You know, this riff, I could easily, you know, just jam around with that for a couple of minutes and see what comes out of it. Obviously, since I'm streaming now, I'm trying to kind of speed things up and come up with something cool. But what I would do on my own is I wouldn't really, I wouldn't be scared of just repeating the initial idea a whole bunch of times, because what I've found is that when your fingers and mind settle on the initial idea, they will kind of in the background start working on variations. Plus, I mean, you're going to be more comfortable with the riff, so it's in that perspective it's also going to be easier to start moving things around. You know, at the first stage you're just trying to kind of figure out how the hell you're going to play it. You know, and as you get more comfortable, it's going to again be easier to come up with variations. So let's do just that. I'm doing that gallop thing, and then I'm going up in the E minor pentatonic scale, and I messed up. That could be like a cool transition there. By the way, I'm sure your band doesn't play this kind of music, but if you do, feel free to borrow and steal. That's nice. Well, there we have maybe some chorus work there. I like that. So just that movement. Oh yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Kind of doing like the drum fill thing, or like a call and response kind of thing. That's nice. So since the topic of today is aggressive or heavy pentatonics, let's see if we can weave that in as well. Cool. So it's a lot of fun, and you get all these ideas just if you start jamming and try to find like a small bit of something that's worth repeating, and then you do that a whole bunch of times, and then you might accidentally stumble upon like a note that you didn't even intend on playing, and then that gives you an idea, and then you just keep going. And as I said earlier, you know, whenever I repeat something, you know, the more comfortable I get with the riff or the lick, whatever, the easier it is for me to just spontaneously try something else. So just the power of repetition is definitely something you should use. Oh, the Hira Joshi, cool. Let's try that. Yeah. Has some nice vibes. That's a nice way to. They have your solo beginning there, or your intro to the solo. Do something. That's a nice thing. That would cut through quite nicely, I think. Sounds a little bit desperate, you know, like a borderline thing. Speedwriter, awesome. Don't delete this video. I'll keep it for sure, and you can go back to it. And I actually explained a lot of the concepts I'm using here in the beginning of the video, so you can see how I kind of, heavy metalized a lot of those bluesy licks and a lot of those bends. And I think that's, like I said, a really good starting point for heavy rock. You know, if you know a few blues licks, just turn up the gain, change the vibrato a little bit, and you have can get some really good stuff going. Thanks for the comment, by the way, Speedwriter. I've seen you comment on the short videos as well. That's really appreciated, man. So keep going. So I think Speedwriter, you're the one who also asked about, speed of progress. And that's a very interesting topic, I think. I think other people are wondering about that. You know, how fast can you expect results from your playing? And of course, there are many variables in there, but there are some things worth mentioning there. One of them being, it's not the guy or girl who has most time who's going to win the race, contrary to popular belief. It's the one who I think is the most devoted and also who is the smartest about the practicing. So what I'm trying to say is that you can get a lot more done in 30 minutes than you could like in an unorganized and unplanned like 4-hour session. And I think that's, so when you're asking yourself, you know, how fast you can expect progress, that's worth considering. Let's say you have a normal, 8, 9, 10-hour workday, whatever, and you're, and then you come home, you're exhausted, maybe you have family, kids, whatever, and you just don't have that much time, maybe like 30, 40 minutes before going to sleep or whatever. But chances are, some other time during the day, you might have some time to kill, even though you don't have your guitar with you. That's a good time for you to think about, okay, so what am I going to practice? How can I make my today's session more effective than yesterday's? And that kind of thing really can boost the pace of progress, even if you just have a little bit of practice time. So if you're smart about your practicing, you could make really quick progress in just a matter of weeks. And likewise, if you're not smart about your progress, you could put lots of time into it and not notice much of a difference at all. Cool. Do I play live gigs? No, or I do virtually, or digitally, or whatever. I stream, I live stream. Nothing else at the moment. It's been quite a while since I did some gigging. It's just hard to find the time, with the family and trying to get my online presence going and working with the GMC website, which is obviously my full-time occupation. Organized practice is not required, but it's recommended. I would say that the only thing that is required is inspired practicing. That's the number one thing. Now, if you can do both organized and inspired, then I think you have a winner there. So what I mean by that is, if you're super inspired to practice and play, again, your 30-minute session is going to be a million times more effective than that 5-hour just, in front of the television. That kind of thing. It's not, that's not as effective. So, just, go all in and play stuff you love. Because if you do that, it's going to sound so much better. And, if you have like a goal with what you're playing, and you have rather a vision of how you want your playing to sound, then you're constantly going to be kind of referencing that, and you're kind of going to be correcting yourself. So if it doesn't quite sound right, you're going to fix that. But if you're playing something just because someone else told you, hey, do this exercise, then chances are you're not really going to care if you mess up a little bit. Yeah, he told me to do that exercise, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm assuming it's going to be good if I just stick to this for another 2 months, Whereas it's like, yeah, I really want to nail that. That didn't quite sound right. I wanted to be more aggressive or whatever. I want my, no, I don't like that. I want it to be wider. Yeah, that's right. So you always have this vision, this goal of where you want to take things, and you're not going to have that unless you really have like a burning passion for whatever you want to be learning. So those are, I think, really important things to consider, as you're trying to evaluate how effective your sessions are going to be, and the time you put into it, sure, it matters, but it's not the most important factor, for sure. I would even stretch it to say that, there's a bigger chance that if you only get the 30 or 40-minute sessions daily, there's a big chance you're going to be more effective than that dude who has 6 hours and just not that focused, because, I've done both, and I know that when I've had a lot of time on my hands, it was harder to keep a consistent schedule. So when I had to struggle to get those hours, I was constantly trying to get them, pushing for it. So at least that's true for me, and I've seen that a lot of students as well. It's the inspired ones, they make the progress, even if they have like not so much time and they have this busy lifestyle, they still manage to get it done.